A very good evening and welcome. You're watching Primetime News on TV1. This is News First, where the people come first. I'm Mariam Gunavijaya. We start off with the Ligate headlines.
Another death at a fuel queue. President in Parliament. SJB protest against head of state. Sri Lanka's Prime Minister Wickremesinghe challenges JPP leader Dissanayake to revive the country's economy in 6 months.
ඔබතුමා මතක තියාගන්න ගේම් වලින් දේශපාලනය කරන්න බෑ. ඔබතුමා දැන් ඔය පුටුවේ වාඩි වෙලා ඉන්න ගේම් වලින් දේශපාලනය කරන හැම කෙනාම ඉතා කෙටි කාලයක් තුළ උණුබක්කිය උරුම වී තිබෙනවා.
Harin explains how to solve the fuel crisis. Resign immediately and make way to form an all-party administration. A request from religious leaders. Action plan of the citizens' struggle revealed.
Sri Lanka is running out of fuel and currently has very limited supplies. Today, a 60-year-old man passed away after spending hours in line to purchase fuel. Unfortunately, this is the 14th death reported at a fuel queue in Sri Lanka.
A 60-year-old man died while waiting in line for fuel at the Borella IOC filling station. It was reported he had joined the petrol queue at 3:45 a.m. and died inside his car.
We spoke about the issues in the country and then went for tea. Both of us were supposed to take medication, and after having tea we returned. He said he wanted to have his medicine, but I did not see him take any pills. Thereafter, I was on several calls for about 15 minutes. I told him that I would return after inquiring if the filling station was pumping fuel. He was doing well at that time. Thereafter, for about half an hour, I did not see him. My boss called me and said he would bring me something to eat, and I went to meet him and get the food. Then I wanted to share it with this man who brought breakfast for me. I saw him inside and called him. That is all.
The 60-year-old resident from Angoda, Gothatuwa, was identified as MD.SD. Gunaratna. The book, reading glasses, water bottle and medicines found inside the car speak of the fate of a majority of Sri Lankans. The late SD Gunaratna had breathed his last with the hope of somehow purchasing just a few litres for his car. How many more lives will have to be lost for those in responsible positions to take note to solve the issues in the country?
Meanwhile, President Gotabaya Rajapaksa made a surprise visit to Parliament today. However, his visit was met with strong protest from the opposition.
The Sri Lankan President Gotabaya Rajapaksa visited Parliament today when the 14th person to die in a fuel queue was reported. His visit came when Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe was making a special statement on the discussions with the International Monetary Fund.
Due to the state of bankruptcy our country is in, we have to submit a plan of our debt sustainability to them separately. Only when they are satisfied with this plan, we can reach an agreement at the staff level. This is not a straightforward process, but we have been able to end the round of discussions effectively despite these difficulties. Now the next round is to submit to them the plan on debt restructuring and sustainability, which has been prepared by the financial and legal experts Lazard and Clifford Chance. We hope to submit this report to the IMF by August. If we make a determined journey along this roadmap, we can achieve an economic growth rate of -1 by the end of 2023. By 2025, our aim is to create a surplus in the primary budget. I would like to give you an idea of the debt we have to pay off so far. $3.4 billion between June and December this year, $5.8 billion in 2023, $4.9 billion in 2024, $6.2 billion in 2025, $4 billion in 2026, $4.3 billion in 2027. The total debt burden of the government at the end of 2021 was 17.5 trillion rupees, and by March of 2022, it had increased to 21.6 trillion rupees. Therefore, as I mentioned earlier, we will have to face difficulties in 2023 as well. This is the truth. This is the reality. Some may try to cover up this reality by showing the people a false image, but this reality will be confirmed in time. At my invitation, the head of the Food and Agriculture Organization will visit Sri Lanka next week. No matter how far we are in this economic crisis, we cannot forget the problems faced by the poorest section of the society regarding food. The upcoming interim budget will allocate money to provide short-term reliefs to the poorest section of society. This relief will be given to the people under the Social Welfare Benefits Act. MP Anukumara Disanayake has stated that if the country is handed over to him, it will be restored in 6 months. Indeed, it would be a very good thing if it can be done. Taking a country whose economic growth rate has fallen to -6 or 7 to a positive economic growth rate in 6 months is an action that has never happened in any country in the world. But we cannot rule out Anukumara Disanayake's opinion that it has not happened so far. That is why I am asking MP Anukumara Disanayake to submit his plan to the President. If you don't want to go to the President, present it to this Parliament. Let us discuss about it in Parliament. If that plan is better and more effective than the plan we are implementing now, we will implement it. Such a plan would be brilliant enough to win the Nobel Prize in Economics. So if there is such a plan, I am ready to resign and let him take up this position. I am ready to give up my position and support that program.
අතහරින්න සූදානම් මම මේ ජනාධිපතිතුමාට කියනවා මේ සැලැස්ම සාර්ථක නම්
During the Prime Minister's special statement, MPs from the Samagi Jana Balawegaya protested, demanding the President to resign immediately.
Don't move.
කරුණාකරලා මන්ත්‍රීතුමාලා නිශ්ශබ්ද වෙන්න නිශ්ශබ්ද වෙලා අගමැතිතුමාට මේ ප්‍රකාශය කරන්න අරින්න ඊට පස්සේ කෑ ගහන්න ඕම නාන
මම ගෙදර යන්න දැස්සෙනකොට ගෝඨන ගෙදර යන්න කියලා හරි වැඩේනේ අනුර දිසානායක මන්ත්‍රීතුමාගේ ඒ වැඩසටහන සාර්ථක වෙනවා නම් මම ඉල්ලලාස් වෙනවා එතකොට මං හිතන්නේ මේ ඇමතිවරුත් ඉල්ලලාස් වෙනවා
කරුණාකරලා නිශ්ශබ්ද වෙන්න මන්ත්‍රීතුමා
දිසානායක මැතිතුමාව
I would request him to appoint Anukumara Disanayake as the Prime Minister. This issue cannot be solved with the traditional method of yelling. We have fallen into this situation because of that. We need to look for an alternative.
අපි මෙතෙන්ට වැටිලා තියෙන්නේ. ඒ නිසා අපි ඔක්කොම එකතු වෙලා අපේ විකල්පය කුමක්ද කියලා අපි දැනුම් දෙන්න කියලා ප්‍රකාශ කරමින් මගේ වචන ස්වල්පය මම අවසන් කරනවා.
සභාවේ වැඩ කටයුතු විනාඩි 10කට නතර කරනවා.
SJB MPs once again protested when the President was leaving the Parliament.
Gota! Go home! Gota! Go home! Gota! Gota! Go home! Gota be Rajapaksa Parliamentu dendone metana pudurak karanna neweyi Gota be Rajapaksa rate janatawage samawa ganna ona Gota be Rajapaksa rate janatawata uttara denna ona මෙතන ඇවිල්ලා පුදුරක් කරන්න මෙතන රටේ ජනතාවගේ සල්ලි වේදම් කරන්න නෙමෙයි බංකරවල හැම්මිලා ඉන්න ගෝඨාභය රාජපක්ෂ උත්තර දෙන්න ඕන ගෝඨා go home ගෝඨා go home ගෝඨා අද අපේ විපක්ෂ මන්ත්‍රීවරුන්ට පුළුවන් වුණා ගෝඨාභය රාජපක්ෂ පාර්ලිමේන්තුවෙන් එළියට යවන්න ගෝඨාභය රාජපක්ෂ වෙනුවෙන් කඩේ යන්න අද ඉදිරියලා තියෙන SP දිසානායක කියන ගෙවලයා විතරයි ගෙවලයා විතරයි
The parliamentary sessions resumed after 10 minutes.
හැම දෙනාම දන්න දෙන්නේ ආපහු කිව්වේ බංකොලොත් රටක්
පක්ෂ නායකතුමා මේ වෙනුවෙන් විවාදය අද පවත්වනවා අද දිනට නියමිත කටයුතු අවසන් කරනවා
ඔබතුමා සම්ප්‍රදාය කඩ කරලා ඔබතුමා එතුමට ප්‍රකාශයට අවස්ථාවක් දුන්නා සාධාරණ වෙන්න
සභාවේ එකගතාවය ඇතුව.
විකල්ප ආණ්ඩුවට විපක්ෂ.
Please give the opposition a chance. Don't try to suppress us. What is your solution to the people at the gas queues, the fuel queues and the kerosene queues? What is your answer to them? You have failed to even provide the three posher.
පූර්ණ විවාදයේ
පෝෂ ටික දෙන්න බැරි ජනාධිපතිවරයෙක්.
ඔබතුමා පළමුවෙන් කතා කරනවා.
ගරු කතානායකතුමා මගේ කට වහන්න දෙන්න එපා.
Honorable Speaker, please don't try to silence me. Where is the solution to the downfall of the export industry? Where are the solutions to the problems of the small and medium enterprises? For the entrepreneurs, the people engaged in the tourism sector.
විසඳුම කෝ සංචාරක කර්මාන්තේ නියලී
ඔබතුමාට ඕන තරම් කතා කරන්න පුළුවන්.
ඕ පාසල් යන
ඕන තරම් කතා කරන්න පුළුවන්.
විසඳුම කෝ දූදරුවන්ගේ දිවාහාරය ඔබතුමා දන්නවද?
Give us a chance. Don't we have the right to speak? Let us exercise that right. The farmers don't have the seeds for the next season. How are they to cultivate? Rumor has it there is a minister in the cabinet who has taken a big bribe from a Japanese company named Taisei. My question is, can the country go forward with a corrupt government like this? Honorable Prime Minister, who is the minister of your corrupt government that took bribes from the Taisei company?
Taisei company පගාගත්තේ කවුද?
Ask the president itself. What a shameless act. They go to Qatar and simply beg.
කටාරයට ගිහිල්ලා පින්කඩේ හොරවනවා. ආධාර දෙන්න කියලා.
මම සභාව
ඒ ගිය දවසේම මොකද වෙන්නේ? කටාර අරමුදල ප්‍රශ්නයක් ඇහි කියලා ඒ රටේ නිවේදන නිකුත් කරනවා. මම ඔබතුමාට කියන්න කැමතියි මගේ කට වහන්න දෙන්න එපා.
ඔබතුමා කට වහන්න.
අම්මාවරුන්ගේ
ශිවනානම් විතර.
කටාවලින් ගන්න පුළුවන් නැචරල් ගෑස් විතරයි.
We can only get natural gas from Qatar, not petrol. We need petrol. We cannot get petrol from Qatar. So what am I to do at Qatar? I am disappointed to see an opposition that is so incapable of coming into power. What are we to do with them? I trained them to get into power. I trained them and I came into power twice or thrice. They haven't really learnt much from me. Come back to me. I will teach you how to get back the power in 2 months. This is the most incapable and weak opposition.
ලංකාවේ තියෙන දුර්වලම විපක්ෂ කියලා මම කියන්න කැමතියි. බලය කියන්නේ අතර අරගෙන බලයෙන් ගන්න ඕනේ. බලයෙන් ඒව ගන්න බැරි නෑ. මොකද්ද මේ විපක්ෂය? එතුමාට ඉතිහාසය අමතක වෙලා තියෙන්නේ.
He has forgotten the past. In fact, thanks to Ranasinghe Premadasa, when the 200 garment factories program was implemented, my father was the one who taught him. Now he's telling us to come and take lessons from him. He's in the house today thanks to the national list. He's down zero and he's telling us to learn from him. The whole country knows that he is an incompetent prime minister. In fact, the whole world knows. I will soon teach him how to get foreign aid. I will do it not only to teach him, but to show the people who is capable and who isn't.
Parliamentarian Anru Kumar Dissanayake responded to the Prime Minister's statement this afternoon.
If I accept the post of Prime Minister, or if you accept the Prime Minister's post, remember, I at least have the people's mandate to sit in this parliament. You do not have a mandate. According to newspapers, you are a person that prioritizes democracy. But how do your democratic principles apply? I oppose you vehemently. Try to stay in your position. If you consider the recent past, I know of another Prime Minister in power who had stepped down at the general election. The trust the public has on you is not there anymore. What I propose is a trustworthy administration as a solution to this crisis. Certain proposals are being made for that trustworthy administration. Let's all get together and form an all-party government. Then a trustworthy administration will be formed. Some are proposing an interim government. Let's do that with the opposition's help. I propose to form an administration with the people's mandate that is trustworthy. The 6 months I suggest is to do that. You give me a Nobel Prize and resign. You can resign if you want, as you do not have the authority to appoint anyone to that position. Realize that as well. I know that attempts are being made to remove you. You know who I am. Remember, the people will vote for the political camp that they think can provide a solution to the crisis. The people do that to overcome the crisis. The people will give a time period of 1.5 years for that government. During that 1.5 years, that elected government can build the trust the people placed on them. We can overcome this crisis. Changing heads or clauses in the constitution cannot bring us out of this crisis.
Honorable Prime Minister.
I don't need time. He thinks he has a skin of a crocodile. That is not the case. He does not have empathy, public discourse, the hardships of the people. Such a mind cannot understand the society. Lot of people know about this. He's a leader who does not understand the plight of children and pregnant mothers. You live in your world. You never live the life of an ordinary Sri Lankan. You have always been a leader that lived above the people. Your statements prove that. Your game politics drove the biggest political movement into bankruptcy. You must remember that you cannot engage in a political game while you are in that seat. Such political games are temporary. People who engage in political games always suffer from a short-sight end.
I have never scolded you and I never will. I have never responded to his claims as well.
Without a new mandate, this government cannot implement any proposal that goes with traditional thinking. We are ready to take on the challenge to make lives of the people better, but a new government with the mandate of the people must be established.
I would like to give you one advice. Read the Dhammapadaya.
A heated exchange arose between the Prime Minister and MP Harsha De Silva.
So Prime Minister, if you can refinance the loan by July, it is as big as Anukumara Disanayaka's 7-day task. It will be a task that will go to the Guinness Book of Records. I am asking the Prime Minister, can you take up this challenge and ask your government to do this? Can you do this alone?
I didn't say that. I only want one thing, and that is everyone's support. In fact, if everyone does not want to join the government, we have suggested a committee system.
In order to solve this problem, deep economic reforms have to be done. You all need to understand that if money continues to be printed in this way, inflation will go to 100% instead of 60%. The restructuring that needs to be done is very deep. We have never had the chance to even think about this kind of restructuring. It is the opinion of all of us that Gotabaya Rajapaksa should step down to form an all-party government.
Gotabaya Rajapaksa මැතිතුමා මෙතනින් ඉවත් වෙන්න ඕනේ කියන එක තමයි අපි සියලු දෙනාගේම මතය.
Minister Harin Fernando elaborated on how to solve the fuel crisis in Parliament today.
Manusha and I accepted this post for 3 months. 6 weeks has gone by. Honorable Speaker, it has been 6 weeks. We have been able to solve the gas crisis and the fertilizer crisis. Only the fuel crisis is left to be solved.
ඔබතුමා ඔය ඊයේ කියපු දේ නෙවෙයි කියන්නේ.
දරුණු චමින්ද මන්ත්‍රීතුමා ඔබතුමාට පිස්සා කියන වචනේ පාවිච්චි කරා කරුණා කළා ඒක ඉල්ලාස් කරගන්න කියන්නේ නැහැ.
මම පිස්සා කිව්වේ ඔබතුමාට නෙවෙයි. මේ පාර්ලිමේන්තුවේ නෝනායි මාත්‍යයි දෙන්න වාහන දෙකක යනවා ඩීසල් ගාගෙන.
පිස්සා කියන වචනේ මෙතෙන් අදාළ නැහැ.
ඒක හොයන්න. එයාට තමයි මම පිස්සා කිව්වේ. මම ඒක අස්කර ගන්නවා ගෝඨා පිස්සෙක් කියලා ඔක්කොම කිව්වා. එයාලා අස්කර ගන්නවා මම අස්කර ගන්නවා. හරින් ප්‍රාන්ත මාත්‍යා කිව්වා. එයාත් අස්කර ගත්තා මම අස්කර ගන්නවා.
දැන් ප්‍රකාශ කරපු වචනේ ඉල්ලාස් කරනවා.
එතුමාත් කිව්වා ඒ ඔක්කොම අස්කර ගත්තා මාත් අස්කර ගන්නවා. පිස්සෙක් කියලා කිව්වා නම් ඒ කාලේ ඒක ඔබතුමා ඒ වෙලාවේ ඒක බලන්න තිබුණා. මට තවමත් මම ඉන්න ස්ථාවරේ මම ඉන්නවා. මගේ ස්ථාවරේ වෙනස් වෙලා නැහැ. මට වෙලාවකට හිතෙනවා මේ ගෝඨා go home කියපු සර්ගේ සාපේ කියපු හරින්ද මේ කියලා. තෙල් නැව් වෙනවා කරු කතානායකතුමනි 8 වෙනිදායි 9 වෙනිදා අතර
Fuel shipments will come. Honorable Speaker, on the 8th and 9th, 40,000 metric tons of diesel will arrive in the country. On the 10th and 11th, a furnace oil shipment will arrive. On the 11th and 14th, a diesel shipment will come. Vitol will send a shipment on the 13th and 15th. On the 15th, a crude oil shipment will arrive. On the 15th, Lanka IOC will send a diesel shipment. On the 22nd, 50 more will arrive. Honorable Speaker, this commotion take place because of that.
We have placed the proper orders. We are expecting on the 8th. According to the orders placed, we are supposed to pay 60 million. That is what we are trying to do. This is a huge challenge. We need 319 million US dollars. We need the required rupees as well. We will have to increase the price of kerosene. We are giving a litre of kerosene for 87 rupees, but we have to spend 420 rupees. If someone is thinking that the IMF is the only solution, that is not the case. We must look for alternative solutions. We must reconsider the loss-making institutions.
The railway trade unions are on strike once again, and the people are hanging on for dear life. We've got details of this story and much more coming up after this short commercial break. Stay tuned.
Enjoy highest return for your investments from LB Finance right now. Earn a highest interest rate of 21% for 4 months fixed deposits. LB Yasaisuru, an unparalleled reward for a trusted deposit.
As Sri Lanka's economic nightmare continues, the country's fuel supply is shrinking and authorities are struggling to cope. Fuel queues that have become a common sight were seen today as well across almost every part of Sri Lanka.
As fuel shortages plagued the country, the government and the opposition were debating in parliament. Heated exchanges were reported at the Lanka IOC filling station in Nochiagama, Anuradhapura, as police officers attempted to form a separate line for themselves to obtain fuel. Arguments broke out between the Sri Lanka Army and the Sri Lanka police due to this situation. A tense situation was reported at a filling station in Valimada as preparations were made for essential services to obtain fuel via a separate queue. The Kurunegala IOC filling station received petrol for the first time in 3 days. Arguments broke out when a group that was not in line attempted to obtain fuel. People have been queuing up near the Vijayarama IOC filling station for days. However, people allege that the distribution of fuel is marred with irregularities. People who were in line at the Lanka IOC filling station in Thumulla protested as they had not received fuel for 2 days. One lane of the Colombo-Negombo road was completely blocked due to the massive queue to get fuel from the IOC filling station located in Valisara Mahabage. As fuel arrived at the IOC filling station in Horana this afternoon, a tense situation arose as the fuel was being given to people who did not have tokens.
Railway trade unions claim that it is becoming impossible to operate trains as the fuel crisis is worsening, especially with railway workers being unable to purchase fuel to report to work. Railway Guards Association Secretary Manura Piri said the fuel crisis will compel them to cancel or delay train operations. The railway social network, an online platform for railway passengers, shared footage of the inconveniences caused to commuters today.
Multiple train services were cancelled this evening after several trade unions attached to Sri Lanka Railways launched a strike action.
සීසන් එක ගත්තා විතරයි සීසන් එක ගත්ත දවසේ ඉඳගෙන අපිට මේ ට්‍රාන්ස්පෝර්ට් එකක් නැහැ. කැමතිවරු වගේ නෙමෙයි අපි හරිම අසරණ වෙලා තියෙන්නේ. අපිට කණ්ඩ නැහැ, යන්න තැනක් නැහැ, යන්න විදියක් නැහැ, ප්‍රවාහන සේවයක් නැහැ, පෙට්‍රල් ටිකක් නැහැ, සෙඩ් එකට ගිහිල්ලා.
Tickets were not issued for some train journeys.
ටිකට් දෙන්නේ නැහැ කිව්වා. නිකන් යන්න වෙන්නේ.
Employees attached to the Dematagoda subdivision of Sri Lanka Railways stepped away from work, citing difficulties in obtaining fuel.
ඒ කියන්නේ 10 දෙනෙක් තෝරලා එවන්න කියලා තියෙනවා මේ ෂෙඩ් එකේ විතරක්. 180කින් 10 දෙනෙක් තෝරලා කොහමද අරින්නේ? ඔක්කොම ඉල්ලන්නේ නැහැ. දැන් මෙතන ප්‍රධාන තැනක් මේ ප්‍රධාන මේ අනුරාධපුරට KK සෝල්ට යන කෝච්චි දුවන තැනක් මෙතන.
අද අපි තීරණයක් ගත්තා අපිට අද අවශ්‍යදී හරියට තීරණයක් දුන්නේ නැත්නම් අපි හතරට සියලු දෙනා සේවයෙන් නිදහස් වෙලා හෙට ඉඳන් ආකාණ්ඩ වැඩ වර්ජනයකට යනවා.
The Sri Lanka Railway Station Masters Association also alleges that the employees need fuel to restore the operations of trains.
The fuel crisis has changed the lives of the public in ways we never thought was possible. But how has it changed the lives of employees working at fuel stations? Senita Senanayaka reports.
Upul is an employee working at a fuel station in Colombo. Without work on days like today and overwhelmed on the days fuel arrive, the fuel crisis has affected his life in more ways than one.
දැන් අපිට දවස් 10ක ඉඳලා ඉඳන ආවෙන්නේ මේ ෂෙඩ් එකට. මේ ඉඳලා අපහසුතාවයෙන් තමයි අපි ඉන්නේ. මෙතන ක්ලවුඩ් එකක් ආවොත් අපිට හරිම අපහසුයි. අපිට කන්න වෙලාවකුත් නැහැ. එතකොට මේ මිනිසුන්ගේ අරමුදෙත් එක්ක අපිට හරි අමාරු රස්සාව කරන්න ලෝඩ් එකක් ආවම ආවම අරම මේ කවුඩ් එක මිනිස්සු ගෑ ගන්නවා මරා ගන්න දෙනවා හරිම අමාරු. ඉතින් අපිට කන්න වෙලාවක්වත් යන්න වෙන්නේ ආවොත් එම පාන්දර 3-4 වෙනකන් හරි ගහන්න ඕනේ. ඒ ගැව්වත් මිනිස්සු රණ්ඩු වෙනවා. තෙල් එන ප්‍රමාණය මදි ඉඳලා. උදේ අපි 6ට පටන් ගත්තොත් තෙල් තිබුණොත් පාන්දර 5 විතර වෙනකන් ගහන්න ඕනේ.
Upul, just like any other Sri Lankan, is not immune to the crisis as it has affected his family life as well.
ගොඩාක් හොඳින් අපි රස්සාව කරා. දැන් නම් අපිට එපා වෙලා තියෙන මේ රස්සාව කරගෙන යන්න. හරිම අපහසුයෙන් තමයි අපි ඉන්නේ. අපේ ළමයින් දරුවන්ටත් අමාරුයි.
According to Upul, patience is an important aspect in doing his job because he too understands the frustration of the people.
අපිට ඉතින් බයිනා මිනිස්සු. ඒ අපහසුයෙන් තමයි වැඩ කරන්නේ. සාධාරණ ඒගොල්ලෝ කෑ ගන්නවා. ඒ මිනිස්සුන්ගේ මේ ගන්නේ පොලි බින්දලා තෙල් නැහැ කිව්වා මිනිස්සුන්ට වේදනාවක් එනවා.
On days where there is fuel, Upul works tirelessly from morning to night. And on days where there is no fuel, he is left without work. He is not the voice of a trade union. He is simply a man working to feed his family. If this fuel crisis continues for several months, what will be the fate of fuel station employees like Upul? Senitha Senanayaka, Newsfirst, Colombo.
I was having a small dream to participate in this, not to win, just to participate. But I was not thinking that I can win this.
We are crossing over to a short commercial break. Stay tuned to News First. We will be right back.
මොකද මහත්තයා මේ?
නෑ මේ ගෙදර සිංක් එකේ
අයි මහත්තයා ස්ලෝන් නෙමෙයිද දැම්මේ?
හදිසියට බාලා පයිප් එකක් දැම්මේ. නැද්ද මුදලාලි ඊයේ පෙරේදා කඩේ රිපෙයාර් කරන්න ගෙනාපු ගම් චුට්ටක්.
මේ වගේ ප්‍රශ්න වලට හොඳම විසඳුම ස්ලෝන් ගම් චුට්ටක්. හැබැයි ඉක්මනින් දාගන්න ස්ලෝන් පයිප් එකක්.
ස්ලෝන් ගම් චුට්ටා හැම ගෙදරකම සිටිය යුතු ජනනල කාර්මිකයා දැන් රඟම ග්‍රොසරියෙන් මිලදී ගන්න.
Welcome back. You're watching Prime Time News on News First. We're moving on with more local news. Archbishop of Colombo, His Eminence Malcolm Cardinal Ranjit, has requested the President and the government to take responsibility for the current crisis and resign. He said they have no moral right to remain in power anymore.
It has to be stated very clearly that the present crisis and the despondent situation it has brought about has to be directly attributed to the President and the government of Sri Lanka for the short-sighted and arbitrary decisions they have continued to make in the last 2.5 years. From the very beginning, we did not hesitate to condemn the stubborn and oppressive burdens that had been placed on the people, fleecing them and stealing their money and the assets of the country in a corrupt manner. Yet up until now, there has not been any investigation or bringing to book of those responsible for these corrupt and dishonest practices and decisions. The biggest obstacle to liberating this country from this sad situation is the fact that the Rajapaksa family continues to stay in power in spite of a majority of the people in this country not reposing any trust in them in any way any longer. This blatant neglect of duty on the part of the ruling party of the Rajapaksas to serve them has made it very clear to the people that this family considers their political power as being more important than the well-being of the people, thus proving that everything done so far amounted to only political jugglery. Hence their credibility before the people has fallen to such a level that all the attempts they made for financial, political or constitutional changes or amendments have been rejected outright by the people. Hence, on behalf of the suffering people, what I am earnestly requesting from the President and the government of Sri Lanka is to accept responsibility for this sad situation and step down from their positions, since they have no moral right to continue in office anymore under these circumstances, and hand over the power back to the people without causing further suffering to them. If that happens, the people will be enabled to establish a multi-party interim government in order to effect the desired total and structural system change in the manner that is credible and transparent to all. I also request all the political leaders of the opposition to come forward in order to free the people and the nation from this situation and to work in unity and transparency, renouncing their petty political and ideological limitations.
Amarapura Ramanya Samagri Mahasangha Sabha Council has requested the President to immediately form an all-party government. The Amarapura Ramanya Samagri Mahasangha Sabha Council emphasizes that the 19th Amendment to the Constitution should be enforced as soon as possible, as it will contribute to strengthen the country's progress. Meanwhile, the Gotagogama activists announced their action plan today. Their plan includes 6 phases. The resignation of President Gotabaya Rajapaksa, Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe and the cabinet, heads of government agencies including ministry secretaries is a primary demand. After stepping down of the Gota Ranil government, there should be an interim administration in line with the economic, social and political goals and intentions of the people's struggle. The establishment of a People's Council for the representatives of the people's struggle to join the interim governance is also a part of the action plan of the struggle. The interim governing structure should be limited to a maximum of 12 months and should end with the drafting of a new constitution.
A
short-term emergency relief program should be prepared to provide relief to the people affected by the economic crisis. Restitution and punishment of money and property stolen by the regime through an investigative audit. After Gotabaya's ouster, curtailment of executive powers until a new constitution is adopted, guaranteeing people's power, making the law fair to all, in order to strengthen the democratic structures, etc. The democratic reforms that can be done in the existing constitution should be done as soon as possible. Gotabaya Rajapaksa, Ranil Wickremesinghe and others in the Durdanta government, I order you to resign from all the positions you hold with immediate effect before the coming 9th of July. If you don't resign, we will start a continuous campaign to drive you out together with all Sri Lankan citizens living at home and abroad.
Sri Lanka Life Saving and APAD Sri Lanka teamed up to conduct a CPR training for the private sector under its Search and Rescue initiative.
APAD Sri Lanka conducted a CPR training under its Search and Rescue initiative with the technical expertise from Sri Lanka Life Saving. Participants from the private sector, extreme sports teams and volunteers underwent the theoretical and practical session today at the APAD premises. The objective of this training is to sensitize and capacitate the participants to be of aid in the event of an occupational hazard or community emergencies. The participants were rewarded an international license and certification.
Biz Fast. The Cabinet has decided to write off the loans of small-scale farmers who have taken loans for paddy cultivation. Accordingly, the loans of the farmers who have taken loans from the government banks to cultivate less than 5 acres and defaulted on payment by the 31st of May 2022 are to be waived off under this. This relief will be given to the farmers through the budget, which will be presented to the Parliament in future after amending the budget presented for this year.
Newsfirst's Naveksha Gunasekara caught up with young vocalist Pranisha Tyagaraja, who was crowned as the winner of this year's edition of Voice Teens Sri Lanka. We leave you tonight with this exclusive interview. For the Newsfirst team, I'm Mariam Gunavijaya. Good night and take care.
First of all, tell me, how does it feel now that you've won a global event? How does it feel?
Really, I like to thank all the supporters who supported me to get this, to win this. I'm really feeling so proud and so happy. I sang Sinhala song, Tamil song, many languages I sang songs. I'm really feeling better and happy.
Was it always, your dream to be a contestant at the Voice Teens?
Yeah, I was watching the videos of Voice Sri Lanka and all, and I was having a small dream to participate in this, not to win, just to participate. But I was not thinking that I can win this.
If I asked you what was your biggest challenge?
Really, my challenging song was the Sinhala song, which I was singing first time in the international program. I sang Mage Ratata song. That was my challenging song.
Just before the finals, I think you were diagnosed with dengue.
Yeah.
And what was that like? Was it, how did you face that challenge?
I was really confused and scared about the finals when I was in hospital, but coach was always encouraging me that I can do it, I can win it, I can sing it. Coach always was telling positive things for me.
You were the only girl to take part in this finale, and at that moment when Stephanie Sirivardhana announced your name as the winner, do you recall that moment? How did you feel?
Really, I felt very, very happy, and I was confused also because it is because of voting only I got this. I was also confused. Coach was also so happy. We both was enjoying the moment.
Definitely. Lastly, what would be your message to the people out there, to the teens out there like you who aspire to be musicians in the future?
Yeah, try your best. You can fly one day. Really, if you have the talent, you can participate in this kind of competitions. Participating is the best.
What are your future plans, Pranisha, now that you've won the Voice Teens? Do you hope to make your own songs, or will you be doing covers, or what is it like?
In future, I like to do many songs with Sinhala and Tamil songs. I like to do.
Definitely a style we're making. Thank you so much for joining us. We wish you all the very best from the Newsfirst team here.